Imagine your parents driving you to a boarding school you've never heard of, handing the principal a note, and driving away forever without a single goodbye. That was me at 15. It was a rainy Tuesday in October 2012. I was Sophia Grant, 15 years old, excited because my parents, Margaret and Richard, said we were going to look at a new school. They called it a surprise opportunity. I believed them. Why wouldn't I? They were my parents. We pulled up to this massive stone building with ivy crawling up the walls. The sign read Harrington Academy. I'd never applied, never even heard of it. My mom turned in the front seat and said, "This is where you'll be staying." I laughed at first, thought it was a joke. Then my dad got out, grabbed my suitcase from the trunk, and walked toward the entrance without looking back. Inside, the principal, Mr. Harlan, was waiting. Tall, stern, gray suit. My parents handed him an envelope. He opened it, read silently, then looked at me with something like pity. The note said exactly this: "We're donating her tuition. She's not coming home." Before we continue with this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Mom? Dad?" My voice cracked. They wouldn't meet my eyes. My mom whispered something about better this way, and they turned, walked out, got in the car, drove away. No hug, no goodbye, just taillights disappearing in the rain. For 14 years after that moment, I built a life without them. Scraped together an education, launched a tech startup, turned it into something real, something big, until a law firm called last month. The voice on the phone was calm, professional. "Your parents are contesting your grandfather's will. They're trying to claim the estate he left you. $31 million. The fortune they told me I'd never have. The one my grandfather, Elias Grant, the man they hadn't spoken to in decades, left entirely to me." This isn't just a sad family story. It's about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you decide you're disposable, and then years later come crawling back for what you earned from their abandonment. But they had no idea what was really in that will, or why my grandfather chose me over them. Let's go back to that rainy afternoon, because the real story starts right there. They thought they were leaving me broken. Instead, they handed me the keys to a life they could never control. Picture this. I'm standing in the marble foyer of Harrington Academy, rain still dripping from my hoodie, suitcase at my feet like an afterthought. Mr. Harlan clears his throat and reads the note again, slowly, like he can't believe it either. "We're donating her tuition. She's not coming home." 8 words. That's all it took to erase 15 years of birthday cakes, family photos, and "I love you" that I now realize were probably just habit. I looked at my mom, Margaret, the woman who used to braid my hair and sing off-key lullabies. She was staring at the floor. My dad, Richard, already had his hand on the door handle. "This is for the best, Sophia," he muttered. "Best for who?" I wanted to scream. I actually did scream. "Wait, please." My voice echoed off the high ceilings. They didn't turn around. The heavy oak door closed with a soft click that felt like a gunshot. I stood there shaking. Mr. Harlan put a hand on my shoulder. Awkward, gentle. "We'll take care of you here. The donation covers everything through graduation." Donation. Like I was a charity case. Like I wasn't their daughter 5 minutes ago. That night I curled up in a dorm room that smelled like lemon cleaner and someone else's perfume. No phone call. No text. Nothing. Just silence that pressed against my chest until I couldn't breathe. Have you ever lain awake wondering if the people who raised you ever actually saw you? I did. Every single night for months. But then something arrived in the mail that wasn't from them. A plain white envelope, postmarked from a city 3 states away. Inside was a short handwritten note from a man I'd only met twice in my life. My grandfather, Elias Grant. He wrote 3 sentences that changed the trajectory of everything. I know what they did. I'm watching. And I'm not letting them win. They left me with nothing but a suitcase and a broken heart. What they didn't realize was they also left me free. That letter from grandfather Elias arrived 2 weeks after they drove away. 3 short sentences on thick cream paper, his handwriting sharp and deliberate. I know what they did. I'm watching, and I'm not letting them win. No return address. No phone number. Just those words, and a small check for $500 tucked inside. For books, the note said. Buy what you need. The rest will come. I didn't cry when I read it. I got angry. Angry in the kind of way that makes you dangerous to yourself and unstoppable to the world. If my own parents could discard me like expired milk, then I was done waiting for anyone to save me. High school became survival mode. I studied until my eyes burned, took every extra credit, joined every club that offered free meals. Summers the first worked campus maintenance scrubbing. Floors at dawn so I could eat lunch in the dining hall without begging. People whispered. The girl whose parents donated her and disappeared. I let them whisper. Their pity was fuel. By senior year, I was valedictorian. Full ride to college. Computer science major, because grandfather Elias had built his fortune in tech before the family feud cut him off. I started coding at night in the library, building small apps nobody asked for, but everybody started using. One of them, an organization tool for overwhelmed students, went viral on campus. First paycheck, $3,000. I framed it. Have you ever tasted success that came from pure spite? It's sweet. Bittersweet. Every zero in my bank account felt like revenge. I graduated debt-free, moved to a tiny apartment in Seattle, turned that app into a real company. Hired my first employee at 23. Sold the company at 27 for 8 figures. Quietly. No splashy announcements. Just me, signing papers, thinking. They said I'd never amount to anything. Look at me now. 14 years of silence from them. I assumed they'd moved on. New life, new kids maybe, perfect family 2.0. I stopped checking. Then my phone rang on a Thursday afternoon. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. The voice was polite, clipped. Ms. Grant, this is Attorney Klein from Whitaker and Associates. We represent your parents in a matter concerning the estate of Elias Grant. My stomach dropped. Your parents are contesting the will. They're coming for the $31 million he left you. 14 years of radio silence, and now they want my money? The audacity hit me harder than the original abandonment. I sat in my office staring at the speakerphone like it had personally betrayed me. Attorney Klein kept talking, calm, clinical, reciting facts that felt like punches. My parents, Margaret and Richard Grant, had filed a formal contest to grandfather Elias's will. They claimed he wasn't of sound mind in his final months. They alleged undue influence on my part, even though I'd spoken to him maybe 4 times total in my life, all through short, cryptic letters. They wanted half the estate. At minimum. That's roughly $15 million sliced right off the top of the $31 million he left me. I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the empty room. The sound echoed back mean and hollow. They abandoned me at 15, called me a burden in that damn note, and now they were playing the grieving, devoted family in court documents? The contradiction burned. I dug into the filings myself that night, scanned every page. Their lawyer painted me as some gold-digging opportunist who swooped in when Elias was vulnerable. Meanwhile, the exhibits included old emails, my parents begging Elias for money years ago, threatening to cut him out of family photos if he didn't comply. He'd refused. Then came the silence between them, until I showed up in his life, by accident. The real twist waited in the full will packet my own attorney overnight. Grandfather had added a personal memorandum dated just 6 months before he passed. One paragraph stopped my breathing. To my son Richard and daughter-in-law Margaret, you discarded the best part of yourselves. Sophia survived what you could not endure, being truly alone. She earned this not through manipulation, but through the strength you never gave her. Contest this, and you prove exactly why I chose her. He'd known, all along. My hands shook as I read the final line of that memo. And should you proceed, know this. I've already taken steps to protect what matters most. They actually showed up to mediation wearing the same smug smiles they had when they left me at Harrington's Gate. Like 14 years and a multi-million-dollar lawsuit were just a minor inconvenience. The conference room smelled like expensive coffee and bad decisions. Margaret and Richard sat across the polished table, flanked by attorney Klein and two associates. I walked in alone, my lawyer beside me, but the weight of the moment was mine. I wore the same black blazer I'd bought with my first real paycheck. Simple, quiet power. They started strong. Klein laid out their case again. Undue influence, diminished capacity, emotional manipulation. Margaret even teared up on cue. "We never wanted to abandon her," she said, voice trembling. "We thought boarding school would give her structure. We were young, scared." Richard nodded solemnly. Family is family. Elias had no right to cut us out. I didn't interrupt. I let them talk themselves into a corner. Then my lawyer slid the folder across the table. The clause. Page 12, paragraph 4. Grandfather had written it crystal clear. Any direct or indirect contest of this will by Richard Grant, Margaret Grant, or their heirs shall result in immediate forfeiture of any residual interest, plus reimbursement of all legal fees and costs incurred by the beneficiary. Silence. Thick. Electric. Klein's face drained. Margaret's tears dried instantly. Richard leaned forward, voice low. "This is blackmail." "No," I said, speaking for the first time, my voice steady. "This is consequences." I looked straight at them. "You left me with a note that said I wasn't coming home. You made me nothing, but you also made me everything I am now." I paused. Let it sink in. You don't get to claim the result. They tried to negotiate. Begged really. Offered to drop the suit if I shared a portion. I declined. The mediator called it. Case closed. They walked out owing 6 figures in fees they couldn't pay. Broke. Humiliated. But what I did next, even I didn't see coming until the moment arrived. What I did next surprised even me. I didn't gloat. I didn't send them a victory check or a smug email. I simply walked away. After the mediation ended and their lawyer scrambled to explain the forfeiture clause to 2 stunned faces, I stepped outside into the crisp air. The city buzzed around me like nothing had happened. But everything had. $31 million stayed mine. Their chance at it vanished because greed made them blind to the trap grandfather had set years earlier. I circled back to that rainy afternoon at Harrington Academy. The note, the taillights, the silence that followed. What they meant as punishment became my launch pad. They thought they were teaching me a lesson in worthlessness. Instead, they taught me the only lesson that ever mattered. My value isn't borrowed from anyone. Family isn't the people who share your DNA. It's the ones who stay, who fight for you, who believe when the rest of the world walks away. Now I use part of that fortune to fund scholarships for kids in situations like mine, kids dropped off with nowhere to go. I help them build futures instead of scars. Sometimes betrayal is the cruelest gift. It forces you to become unbreakable. If you've ever been abandoned, betrayed, or told you weren't enough, drop a heart in the comments. Share your story if you want. Hit subscribe for more real tales of comeback, karma, and quiet revenge. Turn on notifications. You never know whose story comes next. They tried to erase me. Instead, they made me unforgettable.